Welcome to the Film Analysis, today with Forrest Gump by Robert Zemeckis. This film pursues one primary goal: dumbing down the viewer. Any critical thinking is to be prevented, to be suspended. In short, this film has earned our hatred. Whenever you encounter someone telling you that life is like a box of chocolates and you never know what you're going to get, you should say to yourself, "Run, Forrest, run." The point here is not that this film wants to honor a simple-minded character or give him credit. No, here we have a simple-minded character, Forrest Gump, with an IQ of 75, but who is obliged to extraordinary efforts for us to give him credit. In no way does the film invite us to pay attention to the weak in society. It is only when the weak become a media phenomenon, when Forrest accomplishes something incredible despite his weakness, that he deserves to be honored and to receive media acclaim. First and foremost, Forrest serves as a projection for the viewer, into which the viewer can comfortably project himself with his own limitations, and then to be told by a maudlin dramaturgy and music to remain stupid. And yet miracles still happen. Yes, miracles happen every day, and maybe one is lucky, while Forrest, because of his restricted thinking, simply doesn't know any better. We are supposed to adopt this attitude. We are also supposed to agree with the film's history bending. Forrest grows up with his mother in Georgia. He is impaired. Students tease him, but his mother manages to enroll Forrest in a decent school. He receives a degree because of his athletic success. Then this simple mind goes off to the Vietnam War. He is then honored by the White House, makes his career as a ping-pong player. Again, he is honored by the White House because of his contribution to ping-pong diplomacy. Forrest becomes a media star, soon runs a shrimp boat, becomes rich by accident, accidentally invests his money in Apple stock. A lucky guy. That's roughly the plot. But the film tells another life story that goes quite differently. Forrest's schoolmate Jenny is raped as a child. She then gets involved with other violent men over the course of her life. For example, when she aspires to a singing career, or later when she wants to get involved in the student movement. A single mother, she finally dies of what is called the virus, meaning AIDS. Applying the logic of the box of chocolates, you could say, for sure, dear Jenny, life is just like a box of chocolates, you just had bad luck. That's the movie's spirit. The inhuman ideology behind this apparent humanizing phrase is most evident when Forrest unsuccessfully runs a shrimp boat with his former army superior. There's just too much competition, the fish have all been fished. But then suddenly a storm comes up while God is being mentioned. This very storm symbolizes the power of God. It's the evangelical ideology shining through here. A divine will exists, there's a predestination, and this divine will expresses itself in the storm and ensures all the other boats being swept away. They sink and only one boat remains, Forrest Gump's. The underlying ideology tells one, whoever is successful is loved by God. God loves the successful, and as the storm swept away the shrimp market and all the other fishermen, Forrest can now rake in money. Well, again, you could say life is a box of chocolates. Forrest applies this laconic attitude to himself, allowing one to overcome all political conditions as if it were none of your business. This becomes most obvious in the film in Vietnam. We could think of other drastic examples. It is always presented as though this is just world history occurring, but you live through it yourself as well. You could also imagine Forrest as a war hero in the Nazi era or as a plantation owner during slavery in the 19th century. Of course, you can expect something in your life to happen by fate. And yes, of course, you can have bad luck. An unfortunate fall in the bathroom may lead to certain death. But life is not mere existence. Life takes place in a social, an economic, a political context. And these contexts can very well be changed by man. He doesn't have to just take the chocolates out of the box that is offered to him. Imagine telling a slave that life is like a box of chocolates. The sentence about the box of chocolates becomes fatal if combined, as the film does, with history, with politics. The changeable is thereby transformed into the fateful. Eat the chocolate or die. The aim is to legitimize the existing order, also reflected in a historical dimension, as Forrest Gump bans history. It depicts American history in the second half of the 20th century as a single success. As Forrest doesn't thoroughly question anything, neither Vietnam nor the Cold War, because he always accepts some medal from some president. This film serves as a prime example. Forrest Gump serves as the prime example for the blameless citizen who smiles and nods everything at the end and says, "It is what it is." The good thing about Vietnam was that you always had something coming up, states Forrest Gump. One would like to add shooting civilians, for example. Forrest Gump gives absolution to the subservient apolitical subject who wants to remain a citizen, behave well, and a miracle might happen to you one day. One might have invested in Apple shares. Robert Zemeckis' film blesses every form of the existing order. Consequently, the Black Panther movement is quite clearly marked as misogynistic. Moreover, the depicted intellectualist speech in the movement is also drawn into ridicule. Later, Forrest holds a speech in front of peace demonstrators, granting him the opportunity to talk about Vietnam, about the suffering that was caused there and he himself experienced. Instead, a saboteur from the police appears, pulling out the plug. The microphone system ceases to function. Not only are the demonstrating students denied the opportunity to listen to Forrest's speech, but we, the audience, are denied the opportunity as well. The director doesn't want us to hear it. You could say the policeman represents the proxy for the director, who at any rate wants the film to remain beautifully apolitical. The apolitical always sustains the existing order. The film also anticipates the ideology of positive psychology. For more than 20 years, this pseudoscience has dominated not only psychology, but also politics and the economy, indeed the whole of society. The sociologist Edgar Cabanas and Eva Illos wrote a book about it, Manufacturing Happy Citizens: How the Science and Industry of Happiness Control Our Lives. In it, the authors refer to Martin Seligman's happiness definition, in which he says that happiness equals what we inherit, our living conditions. Another decisive role comes to our will, what we make of it. The distribution is interesting. Genetics 50%, the will, what we make out of it 40%, and the surrounding circumstances, also the social, the political context, only 10%. These assumptions are reflected by Run, Forrest, Run. If you want to, you can run with leg braces on, just apply willpower, then you'll make it. Don't let the circumstances drag you down. If you want to, you can. This ideology proves fatal. However, if we just look at the fate of Jenny and tell her, yes, you have been raped, but still your willpower could have been strong enough to avoid the rape, as only 10% is made up by your social circumstances, the rest is up to you. In addition, we experience another aspect of positive psychology in the film, namely Forrest Gump living through a lot of bad experiences. His powers of perseverance ensure that he nevertheless keeps marching straight ahead, keeps moving upwards, and then ultimately enjoys abundant wealth. This is called resilience. That's a term you can read everywhere. What is meant by this resilience? That's also an ideology, and it's described in the book as follows. Quote, although negativity is bad in the eyes of positive psychologists for virtually every endeavor that people tackle in life, these researchers have the cure for the disease they helped create. As soon as negative thoughts and feelings can be transformed into something positive, meaning positivized, and turned into means for personal growth and flourishing, even negativity teaches us a positive, persuasive lesson. For positive psychology, resilient people thrive because they are, in a sense, psychologically immunized against potential feelings or failure. They come back with double the strength not to let up in our efforts and succeed even in a losing streak under stressful circumstances. And that's, end of quote, that's exactly what we are witnessing with Forrest. And that's what we are supposed to admire. Add some fortune cookie wisdom and we are on our way. Forrest is like the masses who don't rebel and represents the masses role model. He is particularly admired for this run, which is completely senseless. He simply runs aimlessly, but it is added that he has given people hope. Well, there you go. The stupidity of the citizens guarantees that the prevailing order remains untouched, suppressing any rebellion. Privately, one exercises some attitude. Forrest always intervenes when Jenny suffers from violence, but otherwise let the good Lord do his work. Remarkably, an Indian remake was released in 2022. The film is titled Lal Singh Chaddha and basically tells the same story. Lal is a young boy who is bullied, has to wear knee braces, is simple-minded, and who, like his American counterpart, gets caught up in the turmoil of history. Here it is the war between India and Pakistan in 1999. Like Forrest, Lal also happens to meet prominent people. It is said that it was Lal who taught Shah Rukh Khan, the most famous star of Indian cinema, how to dance. Although there was a call for a boycott of the film by Narendra Modi's right-wing BJP party because of the lead actor's critical remarks about religions years ago, Modi supporters overlooked the fact that the film's narrative is actually directed at Modi. Although Lal runs like Forrest for months, he virtually unites the country. And it is certainly no coincidence that he runs past a huge poster of Narendra Modi in the process. Here, too, everything is good in the end, as it is. Here, too, life is like a box of chocolates, except that Lal prefers the sweet pastry Galgappas instead of chocolates. It's no coincidence that the music of Forrest Gump was also used for an idiotic commercial in Germany, a campaign of conservative journalists and media people who wanted to awaken a modern patriotism, which also appealed to the fact that everything is going well, everything is great. We all contribute to rendering our country even more beautiful. Many German celebrities from sports, politics and culture spoke directly into the camera the slogan "Du bist Deutschland", you are Germany. There is an outstanding counterfilm to Forrest Gump, namely Selig, by Woody Allen from 1983. The whole thing is a pseudo-documentary. Woody Allen takes historical footage mainly from the 20s and 30s and always puts himself there as the character Selig. This Selig acts as a chameleon. He's a human chameleon that transforms into anything. This Selig can be fat or thin. When he talks to white people, he's white. When he talks to black people, he changes his skin color and becomes black. Selig becomes a Democrat. When he talks to Democrats, a Republican. In short, total conformity. Woody Allen shows us here a man who goes along with everything. Cleverly, at the same time, you are still in the present day. Great American intellectuals like Bruno Bettelheim and Susan Sontag are talking about this Selig and explaining this incredible phenomenon from the 20s and 30s. We see a Selig who is the man without qualities, and then the movie ultimately leads to a dramatic climax. Selig turns into a Nazi. He flies to Germany and then suddenly devoutly listens to a Hitler speech. Selig's adaptation leads almost to self-destruction. A psychoanalyst serves as a saving figure. She helps Selig to find himself. But even this self is not an original self. Woody Allen does not want to make it that easy for all of us. The healed Selig expresses averageness, especially since his ego is composed of what the mass media convey about reality. He doesn't say anything particularly original either. He could almost mention Forrest Gump's box of chocolates. Woody Allen radically irritates our understanding of ego being in the medial modern age, but he shows where it leads to if one remains a mere follower, just like Forrest. Above all, Allen's film refuses to adopt a supposedly wise attitude. But Forrest stands at Jenny's grave and states, "I don't know if we each have a destiny, or if we are all just floating around accidental like on a breeze. But I think maybe it's both. Maybe both is happening at the same time." That's this postmodern miscellany. We take everything out of it and tinker with something, and in the end it was good. In other words, it is what it is. The movie's ideology expresses itself once more. Already in Back to the Future we see this aspect of determinism once. The find yourself ideology, every man is the architect of his own fortune. We find a very veiled contradiction here. You can't change the circumstances, but then everybody can make the best of it. And if you want it, if you don't do this, it's your own fault. This throws us back to positive psychology. There is, however, one single correct sentence in Forrest Gump. Stupid is as stupid does. And that's exactly what this film does. It doesn't think and it doesn't want its audience to think. We are only supposed to watch, but not to see. It would be nice if you would like to support the film analysis financially. You can do so via my bank account or PayPal. Also, you can find me on Patreon. Thank you very much.